And then you have his friend, the Maserati Marxist over there in the...
Is that your car?
No.
And what do you make of their criticism?
The Conservatives are silly. They do silly things all the time. They lie all the time. And one of the things that I... No, not at all. It's not mine at all. It's someone else's.
This week, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau faces criticism from multiple sides, with his leadership being questioned by both members of his own party and his political opponents. The Conservative Party continues to attack Trudeau's policies, especially regarding his carbon tax and energy caps. They argue that his actions are detrimental to the Canadian economy, claiming that his policies are driving businesses to the United States, where there are fewer taxes and regulations. In an exchange with reporters, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh attempted to deflect criticism regarding his luxury car, a Maserati, saying that it was not his and that it belonged to someone else. The media has seized on this, making Singh the subject of jokes and scrutiny. Meanwhile, Trudeau's own cabinet appears to be falling apart. Melanie Joly, his foreign minister, has publicly positioned herself as a potential successor, and many members of his party are increasingly vocal about their opposition to his leadership. Trudeau's approval ratings have dropped as more Canadians are frustrated with his handling of the economy. His government's recent efforts to introduce tax breaks, such as the GST holiday, have been widely criticized as electioneering tactics, with many Canadians perceiving them as a short-term solution to gain votes rather than addressing the root causes of economic struggles. Opposition leaders are quick to highlight the disconnect between Trudeau's promises and his actions, with some questioning whether his government has truly benefited Canadians in the long run. Trudeau continues to deflect criticism, focusing instead on what he claims are the political games of his opponents. But the reality is that both the Liberals and Conservatives have often failed to deliver the kind of relief Canadians are hoping for. At the same time, Trudeau's fiscal policies, including the increase in the carbon tax, continue to spark debate. His actions have prompted concern from provincial leaders, with some openly opposing his energy policies, fearing the negative impact on their local economies. Despite all this, Trudeau has maintained a tight grip on power, though the cracks in his leadership are becoming increasingly visible. As the political landscape shifts, it remains to be seen whether Trudeau can retain the support of his party and the Canadian public, or whether his rivals will successfully take advantage of his declining popularity. Despite these political challenges, Prime Minister Trudeau insists that his government is focused on helping Canadians. He points to policies such as dental care for seniors and school food programs, which he argues demonstrate his commitment to addressing the needs of vulnerable populations. However, critics remain unconvinced. They argue that his government is more focused on political posturing and self-preservation than on meaningful, long-term solutions. Trudeau's recent handling of the economy has been another point of contention. His opponents, particularly within the Conservative Party, have accused him of contributing to inflation and making life more expensive for ordinary Canadians. While Trudeau claims that inflation is now under control, many Canadians remain skeptical, particularly given the rising cost of living in many parts of the country. The ongoing debate over the carbon tax, energy policies, and fiscal responsibility has created a polarized political environment, with little middle ground between the government and its critics. Singh's comments regarding his luxury car and the criticism from the Conservative Party illustrate the broader political divide. The optics of Singh being associated with an expensive Maserati, even if it wasn't his, have fueled accusations of hypocrisy. Singh, who positions himself as an advocate for working-class Canadians, faces a tough challenge in reconciling his personal image with his political message. Meanwhile, the Liberals are grappling with internal divisions. Melanie Joly's open ambitions to succeed Trudeau signal a growing dissatisfaction within the party. Joly's leadership campaign, revealed in a prominent New York Times article, has raised eyebrows, particularly in light of the fact that Trudeau's own foreign minister appears ready to challenge him. At the same time, other members of his party, including the Premier of Ontario and the Premier of Newfoundland, have openly criticized his policies, particularly his carbon tax and energy cap. With increasing opposition from within, Trudeau is facing mounting pressure to address the concerns of both his party members and the Canadian public. Adding to the tension, Trudeau's handling of the opposition has also been a point of frustration. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre continues to accuse the Prime Minister of being out of touch with ordinary Canadians. Poilievre has argued that Trudeau's policies are damaging the economy and harming the livelihoods of working-class citizens. The opposition leader has also criticized the Prime Minister for failing to understand the real challenges faced by Canadians, particularly with regard to taxes, inflation, and job security. Despite these criticisms, Trudeau has managed to retain control of the government, largely due to the divided nature of the opposition. The Conservative Party, while strong in its criticism, has struggled to unite around a single candidate who can effectively challenge Trudeau. This lack of cohesion within the opposition has allowed Trudeau to maintain a level of political stability even as his popularity declines. In the coming months, the political landscape in Canada is likely to become even more heated. With the next federal election on the horizon, both Trudeau and his rivals will be vying for the support of a disillusioned electorate. The outcome of the election will largely depend on how well each party can address the economic challenges facing Canadians and whether Trudeau can regain the trust of a population increasingly frustrated with his leadership. The question remains, will Trudeau be able to weather the storm of internal party dissent, public discontent, and opposition attacks? Or will the growing dissatisfaction with his leadership lead to a change in direction for Canada's political future? As the political environment in Canada continues to shift, the upcoming election is shaping up to be a pivotal moment in the nation's history. While Trudeau's government has faced significant criticism, particularly regarding economic policies, environmental measures, and his handling of domestic issues, the opposition remains fragmented. The Conservative Party, led by Pierre Poilievre, has been vocal in its opposition to Trudeau's leadership, but internal divisions and leadership challenges within the opposition parties have prevented a unified challenge. Poilievre's attacks on Trudeau's handling of inflation and taxes have resonated with many Canadians who feel the weight of rising costs. However, the Conservative Party's struggle to present a clear, cohesive alternative has left voters uncertain. The party's focus on fiscal conservatism, while appealing to some, has yet to gain broad enough support to mount a serious challenge to Trudeau's rule. Poilievre's rhetoric, often fiery and confrontational, may energize certain segments of the electorate, but it remains to be seen whether it will be enough to unseat a sitting Prime Minister who still commands a significant base of support. Meanwhile, the NDP, led by Jagmeet Singh, has also found itself embroiled in controversy. Singh's response to accusations of hypocrisy, particularly regarding his use of luxury vehicles, has not done much to enhance his credibility. The optics of a politician who claims to fight for the working class while being associated with high-end brands and vehicles have hurt his image among certain voter groups. Singh's criticism of the Conservative Party's actions and his alignment with Trudeau on some policies have also drawn the ire of those who see the NDP as too closely aligned with the Liberals. This perception of complicity has hurt the NDP's ability to distinguish itself as a true opposition force. At the same time, the leadership ambitions of Mélanie Joly, Trudeau's own foreign minister, have added another layer of complexity to the political landscape. Joly's open positioning as a potential successor to Trudeau has not only triggered internal tensions within the Liberal Party but also drawn attention to the growing dissatisfaction among the party's rank and file. If Joly does formally challenge Trudeau, it could further divide the party and create a scenario where the Liberals are seen as more concerned with internal power struggles than addressing the issues facing Canadians. This intra-party conflict has been further exacerbated by public disagreements over key policies, such as the carbon tax and energy cap. Provincial leaders, including Ontario Premier Doug Ford and Newfoundland Premier Andrew Furey, have voiced strong opposition to these policies, which they argue are detrimental to their province's economies. The Liberals' inability to fully unite behind a cohesive national strategy on these critical issues has led many to question Trudeau's leadership and his ability to navigate the increasingly turbulent political waters. Despite these challenges, Trudeau remains a formidable political figure. His government continues to push forward with initiatives designed to address healthcare, climate change, and poverty, but critics argue that these efforts have been insufficient in addressing the immediate concerns of everyday Canadians. The ongoing struggles with inflation, high taxes, and job insecurity have left many feeling frustrated and disillusioned with the political establishment as a whole. As we move toward the next federal election, it's clear that the issues of the economy, healthcare, and environmental policy will dominate the political discourse. The question of whether Trudeau can hold on to power will depend on his ability to regain the confidence of the electorate, particularly those who have become disillusioned with his leadership. For the opposition, the challenge will be to present a unified front and offer a viable alternative to the current government. The stakes are high, and the future of Canada's political landscape is uncertain. With multiple parties jockeying for position and internal divisions within the Liberal Party and the opposition, the upcoming election promises to be one of the most contested in recent memory. How each party navigates the challenges of the coming months will determine who holds power in Ottawa and what direction the country will take in the years to come.